Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So a few videos ago I did ask if anyone was interested in seeing some of my favorite brushes all lumped together in one video, and quite a few people did say that they were interested, so I put that list together and I have them all here. They do seem kind of like massive for whatever reason. There's so many brushes that I like, some that I prefer to use on myself, some I prefer to use on my clients, also depending on what type of coverage you want. I took those things into account as well, but honestly, don't be overwhelmed by the list. You really only need like 5 brushes to your full face, and I also wanted to make sure that I had a higher end option and a drugstore option as well. This video is going to be 2 parts because I wanted to just focus on eye brushes in one video and focus on face brushes in the other video. So this one is the face brushes portion, and then I'll probably upload the other one tomorrow. So if you guys are interested in seeing those as well, it'll be up because I'm going to record it right after this. So let's jump right in. The first brush that you really need is a foundation brush. Some people like to apply their foundation with a sponge. Some people like to apply their foundation with a brush. Some people like to apply with their hands. It's all a matter of preference. I personally like to use a brush. I do have sensitive skin and I try to touch my skin as little as possible. Also, since I do work with clients as well, I try to touch their skin as little as possible too, just for, you know, it's my preference. I do know artists that use their hands, which is totally fine. That's, you know, that's their thing. So these are just some of my favorites. You know, you can leave your favorites below too, because I'm always looking for new brushes that, you know, will make my makeup look a little bit more seamless, that'll make my job a little bit easier. So I'm always open to suggestions. I'm always shopping around for new brushes and stuff. So the first brush, now it's funny because when I got this brush, I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with this little thing? I honestly am obsessed with this brush. This is the Tarte Kabuki brush. It's just like a short, like stiff brush. Honestly, it gives like the most perfect coverage. This is definitely if you're more into like medium to full coverage, because it's really going to give you that like concentration of products exactly where you want it. So this is like my new favorite brush. I've been using this brush all the time. If you follow me on Instagram, I have been using this one and the Zoeva one. This is the Zoeva foundation brush. And it's similar to the Tarte one because it's really stiff. I guess it's not really stiff. It's like a medium stiffness, but it does give you like a nice coverage. I definitely am more of a medium to full coverage girl. You know, that's just how I like to wear my makeup. So this brush is my holy grail. This is the one that I always use. So, and this is the third brush that I wanted to talk about. This is the short dual fiber brush. This one's by MAC. This is the 130. This is the 130. This is what it looks like. And this is my favorite brush to use on clients, especially when I'm using cream products. You can definitely use it with liquid products as well. I usually use liquid foundation for myself. You guys know my favorite foundations, well, the ones that I always use. If you guys want to see a video on that, let me know. I do plan on doing like my favorites across the board, but I don't want to do it if like no one's really into that. So if you guys are into that stuff, like eyeshadow palettes, like brow products, lip products, all those good topics that we all love, just let me know in the comments. So I love dual fiber brushes. They're my absolute favorite. I have like 10 of these in my kit. There are a few other brands that I like as well. So the MAC one obviously would be the one that's more higher end, because I think this brush might be like $30. But Morphe also makes one. This is the M462. It looks like this. And it's, you can obviously see it's pretty similar. These hairs are a little bit longer, which basically is just going to give you more of an airy kind of application. You can definitely still build like to a medium or to a full coverage, but you're just going to have to, you know, go in a little bit more. But I definitely like to use this on clients that have pretty clear skin that don't need too much of a heavier coverage. And I kind of just want to throw on some foundation because I just want to have like a nice clean slate. Morphe also makes a short one, which is the same as the MAC one. And this is the MAC. This is the M436. And this is just what it looks like in comparison. And then this is the Sigma Dual Fiber Powder Blush Brush. It says powder blush, but honestly, I absolutely love to use this brush for foundation. This is definitely one of my favorites to use on myself, especially if I'm going for something a little bit lighter. Like I do want to go for like a lighter medium coverage. I'll definitely grab this brush. So this one, the Tarte one, and the Zoeva ones are the ones that I prefer to use on myself, and I just love using these brushes on my clients. And the last type of foundation brush, these are just flat foundation brushes. I don't really use these that much to apply foundation just because I find that flat foundation brushes do usually streak. But I do love to apply highlight and contour with them because, like I said earlier, I don't generally use my hands when applying foundation, when applying product to other people. This is the Bobbi Brown one. This is my favorite one only because it has stood the test of time. I think I've had this brush for like 10 years. And I'm not sure how much it was because I bought it so many years ago, but you know, Bobbi Brown's a little bit more expensive, so it might have been like 40 bucks. Honestly, it just lasted forever. I actually think I'm gonna pick up a few more, and the bristles are still like super soft, and I've washed it like 5 million times, which is why I love these brushes. So one thing you also want to take into account when you're buying brushes, like brushes that are a little bit cheaper, not saying that they're gonna like break in a day, but sometimes when you spend a little bit more on brushes, they do last a little bit longer. So it's kind of like, where do you want to make your investment? Do you want to make it up front and then they'll last a little bit longer, or do you want to buy a cheaper brush that might not last as long? It'll still last like, you know, a few years, but it probably won't last like 10 years or, you know, or anything like that. So those are some of the things that I always take into account when buying brushes. And honestly, brushes are the biggest investment that you'll make, especially if you're trying to be a makeup artist or if you do your own makeup. They will be the biggest investment. And I always say your tools will like make or break your job, because if you don't have the right tools, and I don't mean like the makeup portion of it, if you don't have the right like tools as far as brushes to get through a client's phase, then your job's gonna be so much harder. So I always suggest people definitely invest in a few brushes that are a little bit higher end, just because that they'll last a little bit longer, and you know, they're a little bit softer, and you know, all those things that people look for when they get their makeup done. This is obviously not a brush, but you can definitely use beauty blenders to apply foundation. I have tried a few different brands. I don't know. The only one honestly that has compared is the Real Tech. I forget what they call it. I just think it's their like foundation sponge or whatever they call it. I haven't found a replacement for the Beauty Blender sponge. I think it is amazing. Sometimes I use this to apply my foundation. I always use it every single day to blend out like my highlight. Sometimes my contour if I'm doing cream contour, but I generally only do powder contour for myself just because I'm always like in a rush. So I definitely would suggest investing in a few of these. Make sure that when you use them wet, you don't seal them in like a bag that doesn't have any type of ventilation, because they will get moldy and you'll have to throw them out. I think a beauty blender is like 20 bucks. It's a lot to spend on a sponge, but if you take care of them, I've had some of my beauty blenders for like 2 or 3 years. You just have to take care of them. Make sure you're not digging your nail into them when you're washing them out, because then you can rip them and it sucks. It's happened to me. So those are just some of my foundation brushes or sponges that I prefer to use. Now we're going to talk a little bit about contour brushes. Okay, so my personal favorite that I love to use, this is probably like one of two. I really kind of keep my brushes, like I'm really loyal to like my top 5. So this is Bay. This brush is from House of Glam. It's just an angled, contour brush. Honestly, it is the softest brush I own, and literally like, I don't even like taking it out of the house in case like someone tries to steal it or I lose it. But I absolutely love this brush. You can definitely find a cheaper alternative, which would be the MAC one. I think I spent like $45 on this brush for this one brush. The MAC one is a little bit cheaper. I haven't really found an angled brush. They literally look the same. This is the MAC one. Dude, my eyes. 168. I honestly have not found a really good dupe for the MAC brush. So this is kind of like as lower end as I get. Real Tech has their, it's just like the dome one, which I like to use for contour. Sometimes you could definitely use that brush in exchange for like the MAC one, or obviously this one because it's a little bit more pricey. But besides, like, I like angled contour brushes to apply powder. It just makes my life so much easier. Now when applying creams, these brushes are a no-go because they're just too soft and they don't blend out the product, you know, how I like. So that's why I have other alternatives too. So this is the brush that I absolutely love. This brush is fairly new for me. This is the Chisel and Trim Contour Brush from Sigma. It's just flat. I'm trying to get it to focus. It's just a flat, like stiff, short. It's kind of like a dual fiber brush, but obviously slim. And it is like a dream when you're trying to blend out your contour. It literally gets in there, blends that product out beautifully. And this brush is like my absolute favorite when blending out cream products. And this is just, I don't even know what this brush is called. This is their Tarte, like this is like their version of the short one. And this one is great for applying powder. It literally sits into that cheekbone area and blends that product out perfectly. And I really like to use this with powder product. So now we're going to talk a little bit about powder foundation brushes. This is what powder foundation brushes look like. It's literally just a big brush, and this is what I use to pack on powder, like colored powder to set your face, or you can use this to dust the product off. This is why I really like the Tarte one actually, because it has the end where you can pack on pack on powder, and then it has this end, which is what I usually use to like dust off the product. So it's kind of like a 2-in-1 brush, which I really like. This one is from Makeup Addiction Cosmetics. It's a little bit softer than the MAC one, and the MAC one is probably my favorite. And the MAC number is 150. Now this brush is freaking expensive. It's like 50 bucks. Real Tech has a similar one. This is just their powder brush. It doesn't have any special like number or anything. And it's super comparable to the MAC one, especially in stiffness. Yeah, it has more bristles, so you can cover more area on the face, but the stiffness is pretty similar. This one, which is the Makeup Addiction Cosmetics, is definitely a little bit softer. So I like to use this product for a client that has pretty clear skin and I don't want to pack on the powder too much, or if I'm working with a client that's a little bit more mature and obviously you don't want to pack on the powder because you don't want it to get into the fine lines, I'll just do like a dusting of powder to just set that foundation a little bit. Sigma also has another nice one. This is just their tapered brush. This brush is the same. You basically you can pack it on this way and then you can dust under the eyes. So I really like the tapered face brush as well. So what have we talked about? We talked about foundation brushes. We talked about highlighting brushes. If you use them, I usually just apply my highlight with my fingers on my own face. We talked about contour brushes. Now we're going to talk about blush brushes. The only type of blush brush I use are big fan brushes. They look like this because they literally go right onto the cheek. You can't really mess that up, which is why I like these, especially when I'm like on the go and I just kind of need to like rush through it. I love these brushes. I have a ton of them. This one, which is my favorite, this one's from BH Cosmetics. It just looks like this. It's literally lasted forever. I bought this brush years ago and you know it's stood the test of time. Also, if your brush is ever, sometimes the handle gets a little bit loose and it can pop out, you just grab a little bit of like crazy glue or Gorilla Glue or whatever you have around the house. Well, not whatever you have around the house, you need like glue and you just stick a little bit of glue in there and you pop it back in. Don't throw the brush out unless the brush is like totally broken and splintered. That would be the only reason I would like throw a brush out. And this one is from Morphe. I picked it up at the makeup show. It was super cheap. I think it was maybe like $7 or $8, which is a really good steal. And I think I paid like $10 for the BH Cosmetics one. There's higher end brands that make big fan brushes, but honestly, I think that's one of those things that you don't need to spend a ton of money on. And the last brush that I'm going to talk about for face is highlight brush, as in the glow. So my favorite brush to apply highlight is the Anastasia A23. Looks like this. It's not too stiff and not too soft. It's just like perfect, especially when applying highlight. And I literally just hold my brush at the end because the closer you hold it to the bristles, the more concentrated the product's gonna be distributed. But if you hold the brush closer to the end, it's just gonna give you more of that like dusting, kind of that like airy kind of application, which is what highlight should be. It shouldn't be like super intense unless that's your thing, which is totally fine too. But if you just want like a soft glow, definitely just use a little bit of this and pop that highlight on. I also really like this brush to apply highlight. This one's from Makeup Addiction Cosmetics as well. It's just like a domed brush, and it's pretty soft. You definitely want to look for a softer brush when you're applying it because you don't want it to be packed on. You want it to be nice. When the light catches you like a certain way, like that's what you want. You want it to be like, hello glow. Also, these are tiny fan brushes. These are also great for applying highlight. The two that I prefer, this one is from Morphe, the M310. Looks like this. And this is the e.l.f. one. The e.l.f. one was like $1. I think the Morphe one was like $3. So you definitely don't need to spend a ton of money on brushes. It's always nice to have softer brushes that are going to last a little bit longer, but sometimes a brush is a brush. You just need the brush to get the job done so that you can slay and, you know, be on your way. So let's just go through the 6 tools that you need to apply your full face. Like I said, you don't need 15 brushes. Sometimes I like to just, you know, throw 15 brushes on my face just because I'm like, let's do it. You know, it's one of those days. But honestly, when you're, especially if you're doing like a super quick makeover, you don't need a ton of brushes. The first brush that you need a foundation brush. You can use a dual fiber brush, you can use a flat foundation brush, you can use a kabuki brush. Any of those are great options. Then a beauty blender or some type of blending sponge, something that you use wet, because it definitely gives you more of that airbrush kind of look. It kind of helps that product melt into your foundation because you don't want there to be that like line of demarcation or separation. So foundation brush, beauty blender, then you want to use some type of powder brush to apply the powder all over your face, or if you do apply face powder. And I just use the beauty blender to apply my translucent powder under my eyes. I literally take the sponge, press it into the translucent powder, and just pack it onto my eyes. Then you need a contour brush. If you're doing cream contour, you can definitely use something a little bit shorter and stiffer. If you're just doing powder, you can use like an angled contour brush. For applying blush, I like to use big fan brushes. And for applying highlight, you can use the little brush that I spoke about, the Anastasia brush, or you can use a smaller fan brush, and that's it. Apply a little bit of setting spray and you're good to go. Throw on some lipstick, maybe a little lashes, some brows. Okay, doing too much. That's why I haven't made this video, because I feel like I'm just gonna confuse people. Just kidding. So just a quick wrap up. You don't have to spend a ton of money on brushes. There's a bunch of companies out there that sell really good brushes for a lot cheaper than higher end brands. You only need 5 or 6 brushes to do like a full face. Like this face I only did with like 6 brushes or 6 tools, including my beauty blender. You don't have to have like 15 or 20 unless, you know, you're into that, which is totally fine. I get you, girl. Yeah, I think that's everything. So until next time, guys, I hope that you learned something today. I hope that it didn't confuse you any further. If you guys have any questions, requests, anything, if you just want to chat, just leave a comment below. You can go to my Instagram, which is MakeupbyDenise. We can chat on Twitter, Snapchat, or Facebook. My name is Denise As I Am, the same as my YouTube. And until next time, guys, bye.